In the Face of Truth. I'm William Johns. This is Sharr Johns. Welcome to our show tonight. And this is Will and Share in the Face of Truth because we're willing to share the truth. We're here to bring you up to date on current events that affects our community and affects our country. We're also here to bring Black history to educate America, to especially our Black community, our Black young people, young men and women, and also to get us ready for these midterm elections coming up in November so that you know what's going on and you can be educated and informed when you go into the booth. So, since they're trying to erase Black history, we're going to continue it here in the Face of Truth. And tonight we're going to talk about a young lady by the name of Harriet Tubman. And we're going to be talking about her tonight and give a brief history on her for those who don't know or don't haven't heard of her. They're not teaching it. We want to teach it tonight for you here in the Face of Truth. So let's get started. So Harriet Tubman was born Amamenta Ross. And she was born in March of 1822 and she died March 10th, 1913. She was an American abolitionist and social activist. After escaping slavery, Harriet Tubman made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, including her family and friends, using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known collectively as the Underground Railroad. During the American Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army, and in her later years, Tubman was an activist in the movement for women's suffrage. Born into slavery in Dorchester County, Maryland, Harriet Tubman was beaten and whipped by enslavers as a child. Early in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an irate overseer threw a heavy metal weight intended to hit another slave but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain, and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. And after her injury, Tubman began to experience strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed to premonitions from God. These experiences, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. In 1849, Tubman escaped to Philadelphia, only to return to Maryland to rescue her family soon after. Slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of the state, guiding thousands of other enslaved people to freedom. Tubman, or Moses as she was called, traveled by night and in extreme secrecy, and she later said she never lost a passenger. Now, after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide escapees further north into British North America or Canada, and helped newly freed people find work. Tubman met John Brown in 1858 and helped him to plan and recruit supporters for his 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook and nurse, and then as an armed scout and spy. For her guidance of the raid of Carbonear Ferry, which liberated more than 700 enslaved people, she was widely credited as the first woman to lead an armed military operation in the United States. After the war, she retired to the family home on property she had purchased in 1859 in Auburn, New York, where she cared for her aging parents. She was active in the women's suffrage movement until illness overtook her, and she was admitted to a home for elderly African Americans, which she helped establish years earlier. Tubman is commonly viewed as an icon of courage and freedom. So that's just a little bit of background on her. So we'll have Sharr go into a little bit more detail on this Harriet Tubman.
Thanks, Will. What I'm going to say about Harriet Tubman is her life kind of correlates with Nat Turner a little bit in the fact that after she was hit in the head, she was having the visions and she was having what she believed was God leading her to to help free the slaves. And so Nat Turner, he also had the visions and he also had the dreams as well during his time of enslavement. And so we see that a lot of our people, especially black people, were very religious people, or if you want to say spiritual people, but yet they felt that they were in contact with God to do what they did. Nat Turner said the same thing, that it was God that was leading him to free the slaves, to help free the slaves. And it was, and Harriet Tubman said the same thing as well, that it was God that was leading her to help free the slaves as well. And so we see that correlation with their faith and what they believed in. Amen. And so one thing I want to, couple of things I want to bring up about Harriet Tubman is that, first of all, she is my shero. She is my shero. Yes, hi wise. Jesus is the best. Yes, he is. Amen. But today, Harriet Tubman is remembered as a symbol of freedom and resistance, a hero of the abolitionist movement, one of the bravest Americans to ever live. There have been efforts to place her on the U.S. $20 bill, and we know that was during the time that Biden was in office. He had considered putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, okay? But now we have a different story because we have a person in the presidency that wants his face on there, okay? So the truth about her story is that she was not just a helper, she was a strategist. She was a freedom fighter and a leader. She risked death every time she returned south. The law, like the Fugitive Slave Act that Will had already mentioned in 1850, made her work even more dangerous. Many details of her life come from oral history, so some numbers vary, but her courage is not debated, okay? So the numbers vary about how many people she actually helped to free, but yet and still her courage is not debated. Now that's one of the things that we need in this time that we are living in, black people, brothers and sisters. We need courage today to be able to stand up, because we see some of the things that are taking place under this administration and under this presidency against African American people. First of all, we need to have faith in God. Just like they had faith in God, we should have faith in God as well, because God is our deliverer. He is our Savior. He is our King, and there's only one King, and that's Jesus Christ. Of course, we know that, Yeshua HaMashiach. So we got to have faith, just like they had faith to believe that it was God that was leading them to do the work that they were called to do. Okay? So a typical Harriet Tubman rescue, the mission step by step, and I'm going to read that to you. Planning the mission before she even left the North. Harriet gathered intelligence, who wanted to escape, where they were located, and which slaveholders were nearby. She contacted trusted allies, both black and white abolitionists. She chose the winter season often because nights were longer. More darkness, more cover. Fewer people traveled. She memorized everything. No written plans, too risky. Second, the secret return to slavery territory. Harriet would travel back into the South, often to places like Maryland, Eastern Shore, where she had once been enslaved. She used disguises, elderly women, field workers. She moved quietly, blending in. Important at this point, she was already in extreme danger. If caught, she could be re-enslaved, tortured, and even killed. Making contact at night, she never approached people openly. She met escapes at night in cabins, woods, and swamps. And she used coded spiritual songs like Still Away and Wade in the Water. These weren't just songs, they were signals. Get ready. It's time to move. Her deep faith guided her timing. She believed God told her when to go. The escape begins. The group, sometimes just a few people, sometimes larger, would leave at night. They traveled on foot through forests, rivers, and back roads, following the North Star, a key guide to freedom. Harriet led from the front. Safe houses and allies. They stopped at hidden locations along the way, homes of abolitionists, churches, secret basements. These stops were part of the Underground Railroad network. One known ally was William Steele in Philadelphia, who helped record stories of freedom seekers facing danger along the way. This is where it got intense. They faced slave catchers, dogs tracking their scent, posters offering rewards for their capture. And here's a hard truth: Harriet carried a gun, not just for protection, but because if someone tried to turn back, they could expose the entire group. She reportedly told them, "You'll be free or die." This wasn't cruelty, it was survival for everyone. Mm-hmm. The survival tactics Harriet used: brilliant strategies, walking through rivers to throw off dogs, traveling on Saturdays, less likely to be chased until Monday notices, changing routes constantly. She relied on faith, instinct, and experience. Reaching freedom after days or weeks of travel, they reached northern free states like Philadelphia or even Canada. Safer after 1850 due to the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. When they arrived, many people cried, prayed, or fell to the ground. They were legally free, especially in Canada. The reality of what she did. Every mission meant Harriet risked her life again and again. She could have stayed free, but chose not to. She returned for family, friends, and strangers. And through all of this, she never lost a single person or her missions based on historical accounts. Why this matters? Why does her story matter? Harriet Tubman wasn't just escaping slavery, she was dismantling it, piece by piece. She turned fear into strategy, faith into action, oppression into resistance. Mm-hmm. The Combahee River Raid in 1863, step by step, one of the boldest and most overlooked operations of the American Civil War, led in part by Harriet Tubman. It wasn't just a rescue, it was a military strike that shattered slavery in one region overnight. Intelligence gathering weeks before any boats moved, Harriet did what armies depended on: information. She traveled secretly through coastal areas of South Carolina. She worked with enslaved people who knew the terrain, knew where Confederate forces were, and who knew where mines or torpedoes were hidden in the river. These enslaved informants risked death to help. Harriet mapped safe river paths, plantation locations, and enemy positions. Partnering with the Union Army, Harriet worked alongside Union Officer James Montgomery. Montgomery commanded Black Union soldiers, 2nd South Carolina Volunteers. Harriet served as a scout, a spy, a guide, a strategic planner. An important truth: this made her the first woman in the U.S. history to help lead a military expedition. You know, Will, they always say if you want something done, get a woman. She'll get it done. And when you look at Harriet Tubman and all the things that she was engaged in to make sure that she had safe passage to go and get the slaves, okay, and then also to bring the slaves to freedom. Mm-hmm. And so she was very strategic. She was had her information straight. She had people that helped her, those that helped hide the slaves as they were being brought out of the slave plantations and from their slave masters. She kind of had her hand in everything that was going on. And so to our people today, to African American people, what we are going through today is it's a little different when it comes to the fact that they were enslaved physically. But when people are trying to enslave us mentally, mm-hmm. Amen, we have a right to stand up. We have a right to speak out. We have a right to do what's necessary to get this government, this president, this Project 2025 off of our backs, okay? I don't mean that we want to, carry guns or do something violent, okay? One thing about Harriet Tubman, she didn't use violence. One thing about Nat Turner, he used violence because he felt that was the way that God was leading him to go. And like I said, when we taught that last week, who can judge whether it was God or not? when there was so much going against the black people during that time, that he had to stand up. And he felt that it was God leading him to do what he did when he killed all those white people. Now, we don't push violence on our program, but what we want to do is encourage our black people to take a stand. Do not fear, do not cower. Amen. Your voice is your power. Okay? Not only your voice, but there are other things that we can do. And I was thinking about that today, Will. The fact that we have one brother that's pushing to have a black out the system. That's a way to go about it, that you can join in with the black out the system. Another way to go about it is the fact that we boycott, not just the stores, but boycott buying from any place that is against African Americans and black people in this country, when we have given so much. Okay, our ancestors and our black people today. You have our football players, you have our basketball players, you have our singers, you have the rappers out here, you have the actors and the actresses that have put in so much and given so much to this country, the United States of America, that it is not right that we as black people are being, what's the word I'm looking for, Will?
Denied.
Are being denied, right? Our privileges as far as our civil rights and our freedoms and our liberties. And justice and equality. We are all one people. It doesn't matter the color of the skin. God made us with one blood. He made the nations. And so why is there still so much racial prejudice in the United States of America against black people? It ought not to be. Okay? There's good and there's bad in every race. We don't deny that. But nobody deserves to be singled out because of the color of their skin. Okay? And so that's why we are standing up today. That's why we are teaching the historical heroes and sheroes of the past and also of today, that has helped us to get to the place where we are now. And if we don't take the reins, black people, then guess what? We'll be left out in the cold. We have to take the reins of our ancestors and the people that have gone on before us and stand up for what's right, what's truth.
Amen.
Amen. And not be afraid to speak out, not be afraid to say, hey, what's going on with the Project 2025? I was hearing, Will, today that the president of the United States, their president that they voted for, now wants to take millions of dollars away from the HBCUs. Why? Black people have a right to higher education. We've been through the struggle. We've been there before. Why are we back at point A today? I mean, yes. Why are we back at the same place where we were 50 years ago? God help us. God help this nation. This nation needs to be brought to a place of humility, including the people that are in the White House. The president of the United States needs to be brought to a place of humility, and God will see to it that they are brought to a place of humility. Okay? Because you're not fighting against us. You're fighting against God.
That's right.
We are God's people. Amen? And when I say God's people, that includes the Gentiles that are also God's people. I'm not talking about just one group of people. We belong to the Lord. And when you fight against God, when you fight against us, if you don't believe it, read the book of Acts. When the apostle Paul or Saul was persecuting the church and he was knocked off of his donkey, and God said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? He said, it's hard for you to kick against the pricks. Okay? And so we got to put that message out there. All right, let's get back to Harriet Tubman again. So the important truth about Harriet Tubman is this made her the first woman in U.S. history to help lead a military expedition. The night launch, June 1st through the 2nd in 1863. Under cover of darkness, 3 Union gunboats entered the Combahee River, and Harriet was on board guiding them. Combahee River, the danger is that the Confederate forces had planted underwater mines.
Mm-hmm.
One wrong move equaled expulsion and death for Harriet Tubman and those that were with her. Harriet's intelligence allowed them to avoid the Myers completely. The attack begins as the boats moved inland. Union troops began burning plantations. They destroyed rice mills, storehouses, Confederate supplies. This wasn't random, it was strategic. Destroyed the economic system that depended on slavery.
Before we go forward, that was a black troop. That was a black
Yes, it sure was.
regiment that they weren't allowed to fight
Yes,
for a while, and they finally got allowed to fight, and they had Harriet lead them, and they went in, and the North could not have won
that's
the
right.
war without the help of the black soldiers in the army.
Very good point, Will. Thank you. Okay. And so enslaved people rise and run. This is the most powerful moment, the most powerful moment as the gunboats approached. Enslaved people saw them and understood what it meant. Word spread instantly across plantations. People began running from fields, carrying children, leaving everything behind. Some accounts describe women with babies, elderly people struggling, but determined. They ran toward the river and toward freedom. Chaos and urgency. It wasn't orderly. It was intense and emotional. Hundreds rushed the boats at once. Soldiers had to pull people aboard, help them climb, keep the boats from being overwhelmed, and Harriet helped calm people. Direct movement, keep the mission focused. Confederate forces caught off guard. The Confederates were shocked, disorganized, and too late to respond effectively. Why? They didn't expect an attack guided by someone who knew the land so well. Harriet's intelligence gave the Union a huge advantage. The escape to freedom. By the end of the raid, more than 700 enslaved people were freed. They were taken to Union-controlled areas where they were no longer enslaved. Many men later joined the Union Army. What makes this raid so powerful? In a time when women had no military authority, Black people were not treated as citizens. Harriet Tubman helped lead a combat operation. It was collective liberation. Unlike her Underground Railroad missions or the small groups, this freed hundreds at once. It was one of the largest single acts of emancipation during the war. Did you see something you want to address?
I just want to see what they were saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We got BKF 778. Hello. Said, is that Pop Smoke? And then he or she also said, Timothy 6:16 says God cannot die. So what talking about? Oh, okay. All right. I think you're not understanding the assignment tonight. So hopefully you'll get it. So unlike her Underground Railroad missions and small groups, this freed hundreds at once. It was one of the largest single acts of emancipation during the war. It turned war into freedom. This war wasn't just about defeating Confederacy. It showed the war could directly destroy slavery. Enslaved people were active participants in their own liberation. Did y'all hear that, Black people? Enslaved people were active participants in their own liberation. I'll read it again for the back. Enslaved people during that time of Harriet Tubman were active participants in their own liberation. She was never paid properly. Harriet struggled for years to receive compensation from the government. And the final reflection, the Combahee River raid proves something deeper, that Harriet Tubman wasn't just a guide to freedom. She was a military mind, a freedom strategist, and a liberator on a massive scale. The story of Harriet Tubman isn't just history. It still shapes how people think, act, organize, and fight for justice today. Her impact shows up in real, everyday ways, even if we don't always notice it. She redefines what courage looks like. Harriet Tubman wasn't powerful by position. She had no wealth and no official authority, no legal protection. Yet She went back into danger again and again.
Mhm.
So today her story challenges the idea that you don't need status to make change. We see her influence in everyday people speaking out against injustice, community leaders organizing without recognition. Her life asks questions that still hits today. What are you willing to risk for what's right? What are you willing to risk for what's right? She shows that resistance can be strategic. Tubman wasn't just brave, she was smart and methodical. She gathered intelligence, built networks, and used timing and planning. That same approach shows up in modern movements like grassroots organizing, coordinated projects, and legal strategies for civil rights. Her work on the Underground Railroad is often compared to how people today build hidden or informal networks to help others survive injustices. She connects directly to ongoing freedom struggles. Her life sits in a larger story that didn't end in the 1800s. From slavery to segregation to modern debates about voting rights, criminal justice, equality under the law. Leaders like John Lewis often spoke about good trouble, the same kind of moral courage Tubman lived out. Faith as action, not just belief. Tubman's faith was not passive. She believed God guided her, but she still took action, faced danger, and made decisions under pressure. This has influenced Black church traditions, civil rights leadership, liberation theology, faith tied to justice. Her life echoes the same spirit seen later in leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., faith expressed through action. She changes how history is understood. For a long time, history books minimalized people like Tubman.
Mhm.
Today, her story helps shift the narrative. Hallelujah. Enslaved people were not passive, they resisted. And I was thinking about, I believe it was Kanye West that said, Black people did not have to be enslaved. And I'm not saying it verbatim like he said it, because they could have fought back. Okay. And so we showing you here that there were Black people that stood up and resisted the system during that time. Okay. Nat Turner was one. We have Harriet Tubman. We have John Lewis that got out there and fought. Okay. That stood up. Okay. That stood against wrong. That desired to see change. Yes,
well,
Will.
they could have fought back, but they had to do it smart.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, because in that day, they were allowed to be shot down. They were allowed to be hung. It was legal to do that. And so to say to fight back, they had to do what Harriet Tubman did.
In a smart way.
Turner did, what the others did. They had to strategize. They had to plan.
Yes.
They couldn't just go out there and just fight and get shot. That didn't do any good. So they did. There was people that were fighting back, but they did it in a strategic and a smart way.
Yes. Very good, Will.
But you say that, that's ignorant to say that because he doesn't know because it's not taught.
Right.
It's not
exactly.
taught in the schools. It's not taught in history. It may not have been taught in his lifetime. So he said it just off faith. Well, they should have fought back. But you got to know what the conditions were, what the law was, what the politics were, what the situations were. So in order to do that, you have to learn. That's why we need Black history to be taught.
Yes.
And our schools need to be taught. On the internet, it needs to be taught.
In our homes, yes.
Yes, in our homes, and it needs to be taught. Okay.
And I love what it said because while we're teaching on Harriet Tubman, okay, it let us know earlier that I read that she was very strategic, okay? Mm-hmm. She did her just due before she made a move to do anything. Okay, she was informative. She looked up the information. She found out what it was she could do and do it in a legal sense to be able to free the slaves. And so we have to use wisdom, like Will said. Okay, you can't just jump out here like you're jumping out of, trying to jump out of a fire or something, and just jump because the fire is burning. She did research in order for her to go back and get as many slaves as she did. Okay. And so we have to do the research. We have to do the work. And a lot of times that's what's wrong with a lot of us is that we don't want to do the research. We don't want to take the time to see how the laws can work in our favor. when we're standing up against something like Project 2025, okay? Okay, so let's finish this up. It says Black women were not just victims, they were leaders. Projects like the 1619 Project tried to recenter that truth, that American history cannot be understood without voices like hers. She inspires personal responsibility. Her story doesn't just live out there, it hits personally. People draw from example when they leave harmful situations and help others escape hardships and stand up even when it's risky. She represents a mindset that freedom isn't just something you receive, it's something you help create for others. She represents hope under pressure. Harriet Tubman lived in one of the harshest systems imaginable and still created change. Her story is used today in schools, churches, and social movements. And we know that a lot of schools are trying to take out a lot of the Black history today. Why? Okay? Your kids, our kids, all kids need to be taught Black history. It's a part of the foundation of America. Black history is rooted in America, okay? And so she represents hope under pressure. Harriet Tubman lived in one of the harshest systems imaginable and still created change. Her story is used today in schools, churches, and social movements because it proves, even in systems that feel overwhelming, change is possible. The real impact today. Harriet Tubman affects us today by shaping how we understand courage, faith, justice, leadership, community responsibility, and she forces a deeper question that still matters. Okay? So that's all I have on Harriet Tubman. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it has on here, what is death? That's right. Harriet Tubman wasn't concerned about death. She's like, what is death? She said that either she would have liberty, she had the right to liberty, or the right to die.
That's right.
So she wasn't concerned about it. She said, what is death? I'm going to do this anyway. Good point there. I wanted to add up here that in April 1858, Harriet Tubman was introduced to abolitionist John Brown, and an insurgent who advocated the use of violence to destroy slavery in the United States. Now, although she was not previously involved in armed insurrection, she agreed with his course of direct action and supported his goals. So, like Tubman, he spoke of being called by God and trusted the divine to protect him from the wrath of slavers. She, meanwhile, claimed to have had a prophetic vision of meeting Brown before their encounter. So, thus, as he began recruiting supporters for an attack on slaveholders, Brown was joined by General Tubman, as he called her. Her knowledge of support networks and resources in the border states of Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware was invaluable to Brown and his planners. Although other abolitionists like Douglass did not endorse his tactics, Brown dreamed of fighting to create a new state for those freed from slavery and made preparations for military action. So he believed that after he began the first battle, the enslaved would rise up and carry out rebellion across the slave states, and he asked Harriet Tubman to gather former slaves living in southern Ontario who might be willing to join his fighting force, which she did. Now, on May 8, 1858, Brown had a meeting in Chatham, Canada, where he unveiled his plan for a raid on Harper's Ferry, Virginia. When word of the plan was leaked to the government, Brown put the scheme on hold and began raising funds for its eventual resumption. Tubman aided him in this effort and with more detailed plans for the assault.
Wow.
Now, Tubman was busy during this time giving talks to abolitionist audience and tending to her relatives. In early October 1859, as Brown and his men prepared to launch the attack, Tubman was ill in Bedford, New Bedford, Massachusetts. It is not known whether she still intended to join Brown's raid or if she had become skeptical of the plan, but when the raid on Harper's Ferry took place on October 16, Tubman had recovered from her illness and was in New York City. So the raid failed. Brown was convicted of treason murder, and inciting a rebellion, and he was hanged on December the 2nd.
Wow.
His actions were seen by many abolitionists as a symbol of proud resistance carried out by a noble martyr. Tubman was effusive with praise. She later told a friend, he done more in dying than 100 men would in living. So there was a chance that she was going to be in that raid, but I believe that God covered her. And I
Yes,
believe he covered her
yes.
in all of it. And you see the things that she did and how she did it and the way she did it and
Yes.
the dangers that she faced should have been caught. But the Lord, he protected her and watched over her. So I truly believe he protected her from this. Had she gone on that raid, she would have been killed.
Yes.
And the other stuff would not have happened afterwards. One more thing I want to give, then we'll move on to our next subject in our quotes. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, listen to this. Tubman had a vision that the war would lead to the abolition of slavery. In January 1862, Tubman volunteered to support the Union cause and began helping refugees in camps, particularly in Port Royal, South Carolina. There she met General David Hunter, a strong supporter of abolition. He declared all of the contrabands in the Port Royal district free and began gathering former enslaved people for a regiment of black soldiers. Check this out. U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was not yet prepared to enforce emancipation on the southern states and reprimanded Hunter for his actions. Tubman condemned Lincoln's response and his general unwillingness to consider ending slavery in the U.S. for both moral and practical reasons. Here's her quote. God won't let Master Lincoln beat the South till he does the right thing.
That's right.
Master Lincoln, he's a great man and I am a poor Negro. But the Negro can tell Master Lincoln how to save the money and the young men. He can do it by setting the Negro free. So this is, I said, Abraham Lincoln didn't have no heart for the slaves.
That's right.
He didn't worry about it. This teaching that you hear in school, whatever, how great he was, and this is the party of Lincoln, and we freed the slaves, and they try to get over. They didn't want to do it, and he didn't want to do it.
That's right.
And they still don't want it today. He did it because he saw it as a way, as Harriet Tubman said, the Lord let him do it. It was against his will, but he had to do God's will.
That's right.
And the North wasn't going to win unless they had the help. They won because of the black soldiers.
Yeah.
This country was built on black people, men and women's back. They needed black people for this country to grow because we have the intelligence, we have the physicality, and plus we have God with us. So this was just a point I wanted to make of an example of Lincoln. He wasn't for us as people probably want to teach you. So you need to learn this.
That's
You
right.
need to learn this. All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about. Listen to the words of Frederick Douglass. Most that I have done, and so this was his remarks about Harriet Tubman. Most of what I have done and suffered in the service of our cause has been public, and I have received much encouragement at every step of the way. You, talking about Harriet, on the other hand, have labored in a private way. I have wrought in the day, and you in the night. The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witness of your devotion to freedom and your heroism. Excepting John Brown of sacred memory, I know of no one who has willingly encountered more perils and hardships to serve our enslaved people than you. And that was from Frederick Douglass. Often misunderstood as a railroad with tracks and trains, the Underground Railroad actually refers to various safe houses in which abolitionists provided sanctuary for freedom seekers. Conductors, which Harriet was, also had the dangerous mission of stealing slaves in broad daylight right from under the master's face. And led journeys to freedom, while station masters hosted freedom seekers within their homes, churches, or other safe spaces. The more Tubman learned, the more her desire to see her family free grew, and she decided to return for her family in 1850, which started her journeys to help free the enslaved. So the information I had came from the National Women's History Museum and Wikipedia.
My Shiro. Yes. Come on, put your hands together for Harriet Tubman. Another Shiro of the freedom fighters. Okay. Yes. So we are grateful for Harriet Tubman and all of our other civil rights leaders that have gone on, that have paved the way for African American Black people here in America and around the world. And so we are grateful and we are thankful that they did the work that they did. And now the baton, like I said, Will, is in our hands, especially with this administration, the things that they are trying to do to Black people by rolling back everything that our ancestors have fought for in the past and is still fighting for today. So it's our time to stand up. It's our time to speak out. It's our time to get to the voting booths and vote in November. Okay? So, yes, we have a job on our hand right now, Black people. So let's rise up. Let's work together, just like Harriet Tubman did, and the slaves and the Union, different ones that all came together to make to help her to have success and going back to get the slaves and freeing the slaves, over 700 of them, maybe more. We don't know, right, Will? So now we got a question for you, since we've done. Okay, our dialogue on Harriet Tubman. The question is, if you had the chance to help free others, but it cost you something, would you do it? So that's the question to the floor. If you had the chance to help free others, but it cost you something, would you do it? So that is our question to the floor today. So that's something for you to think about, each and every one of us, okay? And then our Harriet Tubman quotes of the day, we have two of those. Harriet Tubman said, quote, if you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't ever stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. Unquote. Our second quote, Harriet Tubman, is, quote, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves, unquote. So that's our two quotes for today, okay? Would you like to do the three things to think about, Will?
3 things to think about. Defiance is legitimate when oppression rears its head up.
Okay.
It says ugly head, but yeah.
Yeah, ugly
So
head.
go ahead and show that to them.
Yes, defiance is legitimate when oppression rears its ugly head up. Okay? We have a right to stand up.
Number 2, all people, no matter the color of their skin, deserves to be free and treated fairly and equal.
Yes. So there's that second one, and Will read that all people, no matter the color of their skin, deserves to be free and treated fairly and equal. Okay?
And last, think about it. To get results, you must put in the work. To get results,
job.
you must put in the work.
Yes, Harriet Tubman put in the work, and she got great results in freeing the slaves. Okay?
All right. So that's our history portion. We're going to talk. Oh, we have to
Just for a
talk
few minutes.
about this war. I knew he was talking a lot of hot air. I said he's going to find some way at the last minute to topple out. Trump always chickens out, and I knew he was going to find a way to do that when he was taking all that hot air. This is what I warned y'all about when he came in and put all of these DEI hires in. Pete Heslop, a DEI hire. You know, he got rid of 2
Yes.
DEI hires, Christy Nome and Pam Bondi, 2 incompetents. I called her Christy, Barbie Doll, Nome, and Pam Blondie. But, you know, incompetent. and now they're gone. And I heard, and when she first went in there, Pam Bondi was all big. She threw away Marlon Garland and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's picture, took it down and posted on Fox News. Well, I heard that not long before after she was gone, they put hers in the trash. So
Wow.
where it should be. But the thing about it is these incumbents, and I told y'all, they thought it was all cute to put all these incompetents in office, but the problem is they have to do the job. And I said, when an emergency comes up, when a situation comes up where they have to actually do the job, you're going to see the mistake that was made of putting these incompetents in office, starting with the presidency. He has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know where to go. And you're getting mixed messages one day to another. And you're just wondering, we still don't even know what was the point of them attacking Iran. Okay?
Israel.
You said that, well, yeah, we know it's Israel. But they put it, we was trying to get rid of they had a chance they was trying to make a nuclear weapon. Well, you said last year you obliterated that. So again, how can you obliterate something and it still exists? You said back then we've obliterated, they won't be capable of doing anything for 40 or 50 years. And then 9 months later, they got building a nuclear weapon, so we got to go in and obliterate it again.
That was a lie.
That's a lie. So now he done got the Strait of Hormuz. He said that he didn't know about the Strait of Hormuz. When you looked at Tulsi Gabbard, he doesn't realize that, yes, she threw him under the bus because she said that they informed them of this. First of all, she said there was no Iranian threat. And he comes on and said, well, yeah, there was. Then she said they gave him all the information. And he said something and said, we didn't know nothing about it. So I'm believing that she's going to be the next incompetent to go, along with Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth. They all eventually are going to have to go because they're incompetent. Okay? And we're seeing this now with this war. Last thing, I want to talk about why they call her Caroline Levitt. She came out yesterday. First of all, I look at some of her when she does her press conference share. And sometimes she has this big old cross on. Then sometimes she has the cross hidden.
Hypocrites.
And then sometimes she doesn't have the cross on at all. And I started thinking about that, and I said, well, I think what it is, I guess she wears it based on how big a lie that she's been told to tell. If she tells a little lie, then it's okay to wear the cross out, okay? Because maybe she can get by with it. Maybe they won't fact check it. Maybe she will. Now, we know the people that follow them, they're going to believe anything they say, okay? But when he tells her to go out and lie about this, well, this is just a little lie. Maybe they won't fact check it and they won't Google it, so I'll wear my cross out. Then when he tells, what she would say, a medium lie. All right, maybe she can get by with it, and maybe she can't. So I'll wear the cross, but I'll hide it inside. Okay? When she is being told to tell a whopper, she doesn't wear the cross at all. Probably because she's scared that God is going to embell that cross after she lies in the chest, or he's going to zot it with lightning, I don't know. But she didn't wear it yesterday because she told a whopper. She came out and said, now the ceasefire was barely 24 hours old. If y'all haven't seen it, pull it up on TV. Israel bombed Lebanon going after Hezbollah, I believe. And it broke basically the ceasefire because Iran said, y'all broke it. So they started attacking. So the ceasefire is fragile now. So the White House told Caroline Levitt to go out there and say this, that Israeli and not bombing Lebanon or Hezbollah was nowhere mentioned in the peace talks, in the 10-point peace plan. Apparently, she didn't realize that over there on their Fox News station, Trump's news station, where they, by the way, they have a DEI hire over there, and Harris Faulkner, a sellout. They had up there and put the peace plan up there as plain as day. And number 10 on the list, guess what it was? Israel was to cease attacking Lebanon, going after Hezbollah. And Caroline Levitt comes out there and says, with a straight face, that was never mentioned, it was never a part of it, and it doesn't mean that the ceasefire is broken. When your own Fox News, your pet news, the one that sucks up to Donald Trump, put it plain as day, and it was number 10.
Sure did.
And they had it up there. Fox News. So it wasn't fake news, so it had to be true, right? So, Miss Caroline Levitt, you lied again. Because your Fox News, the most reliable news that's out there, according to y'all, that's not fake news, put it up there, and it was number 10. Folks, we can't trust anything about this administration. We don't know what's happening. Unless we look at the social media outlets and these news outlets, independent outlets that are giving you the truth and telling you the truth. So I would advise, as we said before, don't trust them. This is what black people voted for. Harriet Tubman gave her life to free slaves, to free them from men like that are in office today. I told you last week they had that same spirit. And you black man, any black woman, young people, you have the audacity to go into the voting booth. You black imposters, you black people that got up there at the convention and talked. Where are you now? Where's the lady at that was dogging Kamala Harris and got a hug from him in McDonald's or whatever and got up there and talked all that smack? Where is she now? I don't hear her talking. They used you. They used black people. And now Donald Trump does not care about anything black people. He's taking money, millions of dollars, away from HBCUs. When you go into the voting booth in November, young black man, young black woman, yeah, the Democrats aren't perfect. They got the issues, and I'm going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the Democrats too. But let me tell you something. The Republicans will not do anything to help you. The Democrats will at least put up a front to try to do a little bit of something. They may not do everything, but at least they're not trying to take away. The Republicans are trying to strip away everything. DEI, black history, everything. Nobody's talking about it. They're marching, they're rebelling, protesting Medicare, Medicaid, high prices. That I still don't see nobody up there standing up protesting about what he's doing against our black people. Unemployment for black men is up to almost 8%, where it was like 4% under Biden. 300,000 black women had jobs under Biden. They don't have any jobs now under Trump. Nobody's saying nothing about that. Nobody's in the streets about that. We need to talk about that. I want to leave it at that because I don't want to get riled up. That's all I have to say. All right.
But anyway, this is the show. This is In the Face of Truth, and that's what we're all about. When we come on, we're going to talk about the current events that's going on, how it affects African American black people here in America, around the world. It's going on all over. And then we wanted to also talk about a lot of our leaders, a lot of our freedom fighters, a lot of our civil rights leaders that have died and gone on, but yet their legacy still lives, and it lives in each and every one of us. And that's why it's important that we have black history taught in our schools, that we have black history in our homes, that we have black history in our churches.
So let's get it together.
So,
And
yes.
we're going to be talking more probably in the next 2 weeks. We're going to start getting into talking about this election and informing you of what's really going on. And we're going to be honest with on the Democrat and Republican
That's
side.
right. That's
and
right.
so we want to educate you on that.
And we want to let you know that we're not either Republican or Democrat. We are.
Jesus.
Well, first and foremost, yes, our faith in God. And then second of all, we are independent thinkers. We think for ourselves. Amen. Don't let nobody make you think one way or the other. Think for yourself.
So don't
Thanks for
forget, Sunday morning, 11:30, or Sunday morning
Oh.
worship on Facebook and YouTube, and then Tuesday night Bible study, and then that is our spiritual side. We preach the gospel, we teach the word, and then
Yes.
on Thursday is when we do the political activism stuff. We keep it separate. We keep it separate. So we are here, and of course we're going to put God in everything. So we'll probably talk about God on this show, but we don't want to talk politics on our services. So we just want you to join us next Thursday at 6:30 for our show. If you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button and subscribe. And for Sharon and Share and Will in the face of truth, until next week, thank you for joining us, and you take care.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful evening.